This is Rachel Liu, and on the ESPN Esports podcast, we commemorate the death of StarCraft Pro League. We also go over the League of Legends World Championship semifinals at MSG. Be sure to subscribe in the Listen tab of the ESPN app.
Taken by Spades, final seconds. It's over! It's over! Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland! This is for you!
These 73 wins, I won't go as far as to call them meaningless, but they just don't have the meaning. I'm still in shock that he joined forces with the Warriors.
I'm not trying to call KD a liar, but there ain't no way in hell he went to bed on July 3rd and didn't know where he was going.
Does Russ have a right to be mad?
Is that really a question?
Yeah, it's really a question.
Of course he's got a right to be mad.
Oh, he took the easy way. What does that mean? So yeah, it is absurd to call somebody a villain, and yeah, I said it.
Nobody's vilifying him for making a decision that makes him happy. But I'll be damned if he ain't the villain. That's how it works. The simulation system came up with 83 wins for the Warriors. In other words, they broke the system. But don't disturb this groove. Cleveland rocks, but never like it will tonight with the Indians in Game 1 of the World Series, right next door to Game 1 of the Cavs title defense. So Cleveland, y'all keep the party going, but while y'all spent the summer celebrating, what we've been basically telling you is what Gloria told Billy, that sometimes when you lose, you actually win. The Warriors lost a 3-1 lead, but won the biggest free agent prize since LeBron, and now a lot of us have the Warriors winning a second title in 3 years as the first of many for their Big Four. But hold on, as we'll be reminded tonight, aren't the Cavs the world champs, still led by the best player in the world who says his team is still pretty much uptight and not satisfied with what they did, Jamel? Are we doing it again? And by it, I mean underestimating the Cavaliers.
Yes, we're doing it again, and that's still not going to change my opinion that the Warriors are going to win the title, right?
Thank you.
But we are doing it again. Look, it's hard to go against the Warriors with all they're stacked with. But as we saw in the finals, and really if you want to count the Western Conference Finals too, as a part of this, I mean, anything can happen. And I realize that it's the NBA, and usually the best team wins. And when you have the best player in the world and LeBron James, you always have more. I mean, you have an incredible chance to always be in the position to win a title. But there's something about it that feels a little wrong. Only in the sense that, like, yes, all these people are picking the Warriors, much like everybody picked them this time last season, right? So all these people are picking the Warriors again. And it feels weird to say, but it almost feels like the Cavs are going under the radar to some degree.
We're underestimating the Warriors is who we're underestimating.
Why? How?
Here's why I say all the people who are saying the game isn't played on paper, anything could happen. They're doing that because they're comparing the Warriors as a super team to all the previous incarnations of the super teams. And this team is incomparable. This isn't the Heat coming together with the big three after the decision and struggling to find a chemistry. This isn't even like the Celtics from 2007 who had the perfect mix of positions and abilities, and yet they hadn't played together before. This is a 73-win team that won a championship the year before, replacing self-check Harrison Barnes with the third leading scorer in NBA history. Barring injury, there is no reason for the Warriors not to be overwhelming favorites, with all due respect to the Cavs, who in some ways can be better because their chemistry is better. LeBron has talked about how, I mentioned off the top, how they're still uptight. They're not satisfied. They seem more hungry than fat and happy, even with the party that's been going on all year. But I'm sorry, look, Harrison Barnes, people talk about, well, Draymond, he got suspended, Steph might have been hurt, or just LeBron and Kyrie were just that great. All the different reasons why people talk about why Golden State blew a 3-1 lead. Self-check Harrison Barnes, that's his new name, went 10 of 27 on uncontested shots in the finals. 5 for 20 on uncontested three-pointers in the finals.
If he just shoots 30%.
Or even better. Let's replace Harrison Barnes with Kevin Durant. Like, seriously, who does that?
Yeah.
Who replaces Harrison Barnes with Kevin Durant? And it still keeps a core together and intact with complementary pieces like most super teams don't have. They took the lineup of death, okay, and made it even scarier, if that's possible. They took out Harrison Barnes and then replaced him with Kevin Durant. You still got Iguodala. You still got Sean Livingston. David West came through. You got Zaza Pachulia in the middle. They got depth, they got experience, they got a willingness to share the basketball. There is no reason why the Warriors should not be overwhelming favorites. That's not taking nothing away from the Cavaliers, who may be better, who still have LeBron. But people talk as if the Cavs swept the Warriors last year. They were good enough to get up 3-1. They were good enough to be right there in Game 7. And they got better in the offseason. All legitimate hype.
All that are completely solid, justifiable reasons to pick the Warriors, but maybe it just feels a little weird coming off the playoff run that LeBron had, and for that matter, the epic comeback that the Cavs had in the finals, to sit up here and just make it sound,
hand the championship to the Warriors?
Right, just make it sound like such a lock and say, hey, and look, I say that not being able to conjure a reason. I'm
about to say, what's their downfall? What's the weakness? What's the weakness? What's the downfall?
I don't know what it is. Like, I can't envision.
They got better at both ends with Durant.
I can't envision a scenario where the Warriors don't win it other than the Cavs getting in their way. And I'll say this, look, if LeBron, we know these teams are going to probably meet in the finals. Not probably, they're meeting in the finals. It's going to be Cavs, Warriors Part 3, which I know we'll talk about in a second. Assuming LeBron does, if he did beat this team with multiple MVPs on it, I mean,
then what?
That greatest. I know
then
how
what?
you feel about
then what?
Michael Jordan.
Don't derail the entire show. Don't derail the entire show.
About Michael Jordan, but I'm sorry.
How many times do I have to tell you, woman? How many times do I have to tell you that LeBron can win 8 titles? I don't care if LeBron beats the Monstars and the Warriors. He won't be better than Michael Jordan.
If he beats a team with Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson,
then congratulations.
Congratulations. Then I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. You're gonna have to say it. You're gonna have to give it to him. Because if a team, you don't have to.
I ain't got to do nothing. As Joe Clark said, I ain't got to do nothing but stay black and die.
Well, then you just being stubborn, all right?
Why didn't you? What's the purpose of putting together a rundown if you go derail the entire show?
I just thought that should be said. Okay, we can move on. It's okay.
Can we?
Yes.
You won't find a bigger draft nerd than yours truly. And I love baseball's hot stove season. But NBA free agency has them all beat, especially this summer. The Celtics finally got a big free agent in Al Horford to add to their playoff team. The Bulls signed D-Wade away from South Beach. No team has attracted more bets to win the NBA title at the Superbook than the new-look Knicks. And then, of course, you got the usual suspects such as the Raptors, the Tim Duncan-less Spurs, and the Clippers. No shortage of good teams out there, and yet, as you can see there, let the odds makers and popular opinion tell it. As you just said, Jamel, we might as well, baby, fast forward to the finals.
Just simulate it.
Does this inevitability, quote unquote, of a Cavs-Warriors rubber match, does that render the regular season meaningless for you? It doesn't for me.
No, to me it makes it more exciting. As much as people talked about when Kevin Durant joined the Warriors, like, oh, it's going to be so boring and that's not fair and all that other stuff, it makes the season more compelling because I think everybody, as ridiculous as I think it is for the Warriors to be characterized as the villains, okay? The whole point is people want to see what can this team do? How great can they be? Mm-hmm. What's it going to look like night in and night out? And that's just one team. There are so many other compelling storylines. You want to see LeBron James, and arguably one of his more pressureless seasons, if you will, considering all the attention.
This will be interesting. Pressure-free and drama-free.
Correct. I mean, everything is sort of in place for him, but you still want to see what the Cavs will do. As you mentioned, D-Wade in a new uniform, which is still, despite the fact he's from Chicago, it's still taking me a little time to get used to. I want to see how good Karl Anthony Towns can be. I want to see if Joel Embiid is for real. We'll talk about both of those guys a little bit later. There are plenty of entertaining storylines to go around. What can the new look Celtics do? And so I think if you're like a real NBA fan, how can you not be entertained and compelled by what this season has to offer? Look, I know it's the big two, all right, in many ways, and everybody else, but there's a lot going on in the middle and even at the bottom, if you want to put the 76ers in there, that are more than worth you subscribing to League Pass and watching every night.
You read my mind because we get a lot of emails. The most excited I got reading the email this week was when I got my League Pass coupon. Because I am so psyched. I can't stand it when people say that NBA games aren't interesting until the last 5 minutes or that the NBA regular season doesn't matter because we already know who's going to be there. You just ran down all these great teams, all these great storylines, all these interesting characters. Like, this may surprise you guys when it comes to me. But I like movies. All right, I tend to watch movies. I tend to watch movies over and over, no matter how many times I've seen them. I love it when the cable stations put on movies that I own already. You ever get that? It's like the same thing when you're in the car and the song comes on the radio. Oh, that's my song.
Right.
You may have it on your phone, or you may have the DVD or the CD back in our day when we were growing up, but it's still something about when it comes on.
Yeah.
Likewise with movies, like Dead Presidents was on the other day. I'm like, I'm watching this. Like, I ain't never seen it. I'm like, y'all stop talking. I'm watching Dead Presidents.
Right. I watched Boys in the Hood last night.
You may still know how this movie, so to speak, is going to end, but you're not fast forwarding through it. No. You still want to see Russell Westbrook run his own show. You mentioned the upstart Timberwolves. The Pacers got better. The Hornets, the Bulls, the Hawks, the Raptors, they're all interesting. There are so many compelling reasons to watch the NBA night in and night out. You mentioned the bottom, Boogie Cousins. What's Boogie going to do this year?
Right.
There's not a reason to tune out.
People can't tell me the first time he faces Kevin Durant, or for that matter, the type of season he could have without Durant, that's not compelling enough in its own right.
That said, realistically speaking, I mean, all of these great teams, these young stars, the game is in a great, great place. Right. All the people who talk about the game and what it used to be, and I mean, look, this is a league that just lost KG Garnett, Tim Duncan. Mm-hmm. And this is such a healthy place. Yeah, I'm sorry, what did I say?
No, you said the right word.
I didn't say Kobe, I'm sorry.
Yeah, KG Duncan.
Kobe, Garnett, Duncan. Sorry, talking too fast. But bottom line is, these young upstarts are here to carry this torch beyond just the Warriors and the Cavs.
I want to know what James Harden
There's
plays
so much must-see TV involved. But realistically speaking, I don't see a real threat, to stop a rubber match between these two teams, because in the East, I don't think anybody in the East, with all due respect to the improvements on the part of Boston and Indiana, I don't think anybody is in position to stop LeBron from reaching a 7th consecutive NBA Finals. I think, he's that good, that driven, and the team around him, quite as may have upgraded in some respects. So I like them in the East to get there no matter what. In the West, if I had to pick a team, the Clippers are the most talented.
Certainly got a lot of depth.
But how about the Spurs, even without Duncan? They had Paul Gasol.
Yep.
They
still got Aldridge. Yeah, I mean they
Kawhi.
They have a lot
Pop. That's the team you want to talk about underrating or overlooking. Every year we do that when it comes to that squad. I know they're older, but maybe the Spurs have the best chance of making it interesting. But I still see Warriors Cavs no matter how hard we try.
I think between the two conferences, now I think I'm just going to assume that you were kind of along the same line of thinking, that you see more, quote, resistance in the West, if you will, as opposed to the Eastern Conference.
Well, I don't know. The offseason, a lot of teams got better in the East.
No, it did, and I look forward to another season in which I can find a way to just tweak Knicks fans just a little bit more. But y'all look okay. Y'all look like a solid 38-win team.
Just make sure your Pistons keep them out the plairffs. You're not gonna be laughing.
You want to talk about excited? I got super excited. I think it was one of our projections that had the Pistons as a 5th seed. I was like, if that happens, I'm throwing up a parade.
No lie. After enduring a rough week of pro football, Jamel and I were talking yesterday afternoon about how hyped we are, as you can see, for the tip-off of the NBA regular season, and whether we were actually more excited for hoops than the second half of the NFL season, right? And then, bam, Wall Street Journal drops this piece asking the question, is there a day when the NBA surpasses the NFL? It's as if they got spies at our show pod or something.
In our mind.
Right? All great minds think alike. Whatever. Here's the money quote from the article. Quote, the result of basketball's cultural boom and football's undeniable erosion is a cautious optimism around the NBA that once would have been unthinkable. As this generation of fans grows up, they believe basketball might be able to finally catch football as the country's most popular sport. You buying that?
To a degree. I don't think they're completely off base. I don't think this is a crazy assertion to entertain. And that's like, let's look at where the NFL is right now. Ratings are down. I know a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's a presidential debate. But the NFL, there's parts of it, no disrespect, and we're going to talk about baseball in a minute, that feels like they're taking on some of the characteristics baseball took on before it became kind of known as a old game. Look, there's a lot of people who still watch baseball, a lot of baseball fans out there, but I think it's more than fair to say that of all the major sports, the NBA is probably the most culturally relevant.
Youngest, most diverse, tech savvy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't have any stupid rules about social media highlights when it comes to their own member clubs, do they? Labor peace on the horizon. There's so much negativity and conflict associated with the NFL, whereas the NBA, what a concept. The owners and the players often work together as partners, even, and not to get too far off track, even to handle social activism in a collaborative way, as opposed to having owners saying, you work for me. This is my team. Don't you dare take a knee. They're saying, instead of you feeling the need to break a rule that we have for the national anthem, let's work together to work towards social activism. They're just so far ahead of the game. And in hindsight, Mark Cuban, smart guy that he tends to be on business matters especially, maybe he wasn't too far ahead of himself when he said, pigs get, and this is a popular saying, what is it, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered?
Correct.
That the NFL was looking pretty hoggy these days, and maybe, coming to a point of oversaturation. I would take the Pepsi Challenge with the NBA's product as opposed to the NFL's product any day of the week, and yes, twice on Sundays when it comes to my enjoyment level. I'll be honest with you, since we're in the trust tree, we're in the nest, I'm going to be real. Football has always been my first love. I played football in high school. I'm from the South. I'm from New Orleans. It's always been about football for me. But I find myself watching pro football in particular more out of professional obligation, out of habit and routine than pure enjoyment. Most of my enjoyment comes from the fantasy football aspect. I mean, I still appreciate the game, and there are a lot of things to love about the game. But the fun, and this is intentional when it comes to the NFL. I don't find myself having as much fun watching the NFL as I do watching the NBA, the way the NBA, they have the star power edge, and they do a better job of marketing and promoting their stars than the NFL does. And it's not just because one set of guys wears a helmet and the other one does not. There's more to it than that.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned the fun and enjoyment. And what have we seen lately from the NFL that has been so bothersome is you've seen guys just in exuberance. Guys like Josh Norman being flagged for something ridiculous, a bow and arrow, right? Antonio Brown twerking, being flagged. It's like they're trying to take all of the natural spontaneity out of the game, and it's annoying. And what's even worse is, I wonder about the type of fan that's watching the game now, because I've seen several stories written about how a lot of fans, I don't know any, but apparently they're out there, they don't want to see this in the NFL. And I'm like, who are these people?
Yeah.
Why do they not like spontaneous fun? And the NBA, it just feels so much more relevant now. And
it feels relaxed.
It does.
Whereas the NFL feels like, okay, let's watch football now.
Right.
Let's watch for the head trauma. Let's everything about it is no longer just pure anymore. It feels corrupt.
Corrupt. I'm glad you said that, because as a fan, look, we all compartmentalize with our entertainment when it comes to movies, music. So I'm not going to pretend like the NFL is special in this regard. But when you see cases like a Josh Brown, and especially, everybody can feel this way, but I'm just going to speak as a woman. It makes me, every time sometimes when I'm watching games, I feel there's a little part of me that feels dirty, that feels like, am I compromising something here by watching this game? It's part of my professional job. It's what I have to do. I have to watch these games and be able to analyze them and for us to have these conversations. But you want to feel good watching the sport.
Well, in fairness.
Now, wait. No, I was going to bring that up. Now, this is not to say that the NBA has a bunch of, innocent choir boys.
That's what I was about to say.
I'm not going to say
off the field issues are not exclusive to pro football.
No, they are not.
You got it.
However, most of the ones that have registered these enormous kind of conversations and town halls and all these other things have been about issues related to the NFL. And even
is that because the NFL has for the longest time been the king?
That's part of it. But the other part of it, too, is here's the advantage the NBA had. Obviously, after Ray Rice, they readdressed their own policy.
God, yeah.
Major League Baseball did the same thing. So they had an opportunity.
They've allowed the NFL to have missteps and then say, we're going to do this better.
And we're going to follow from you. Same thing with the national anthem. They did the same thing. So I guess just as a fan, I just feel better watching the game. And look at who the ambassadors of the sports of the NBA are right now. You got LeBron. You have Steph Curry. You have guys that are very relatable, good guys that you just feel good rooting for. And look, it could be a small part of it as a fan, because again, I get it, you're there for the entertainment, but that also makes you feel good to be able to watch role models like them.
But there are plenty of people who can compartmentalize those things. When it comes down to the product,
and the product itself is good in the NBA.
Well, but there are old heads that'll say it's not. I disagree. I think it's in a very healthy place, whereas when I look at football, a lot of it has to do with legislation, less practice. For whatever reason, that game is just, it's sloppier. Yeah. It's much sloppier than I seem to recall.
I said this yesterday, that Saturdays, they have beaten Sundays this season.
Hey, look, it might not happen in this lifetime, but I think it's very realistic for the NBA to do that.
This is Rachel Yu, and on the ESPN Esports Podcast, we commemorate the death of StarCraft Pro League. We also go over the League of Legends World Championship semifinals at MSG. Be sure to subscribe in the Listen tab of the ESPN app.
The Cubs are going to the World Series. The Cubs win the pennant. Bear hugs, high fives, handshakes, laughter. What a great scene.
For the first time in 71 years. That's a long time. The Cubs are in it. Given the dominant season the Cubs had, would it be a failure if the Cubs do not win the World Series?
Not to me. Maybe to a lot of people. Maybe the guys on that team, Tony, but not to me. And I suspect a lot of others who have never, as you just said, seen the Cubs get to the World Series. In professional sports in North America, the four primary team sports, no team ever went 71 years without getting to its league's championship. Nobody ever. They just did this. Now, do I want them to win? God, yes, I want them to win. I think those guys are determined to not let this be the crowning glory of their year and have a butt at the end of it. It's hard. Cleveland's good. But, Tony, no, I'm not going to declare this a failure if the Cubs don't win the series.
See, me and Wilbon are here.
Uncle Mike bugging.
Get him here.
Get
him here.
Nah, man. Explain this to me.
Okay, it's very simple.
I thought their slogan is, it is happening. So if they lose, it almost happened?
No.
Like, what? Come on now.
See, you're missing the big picture.
Okay,
right?
go ahead.
All right. So let me try to break it down to you like you're a 5-year-old.
Like, so if forever it consistently be broke.
Exactly. When you have been through what the Cubs have been through, all right? We know the history. We know the numbers. It is a process. I really do think a lot of Cubs fans are relieved that they're in the World Series. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say that if they lost that they wouldn't be heartbroken or disappointed, of course, but it's a different kind of heartbreak. Mm-hmm. See, it's one thing if you never make it to this point to actually be within reach, within a few games, within 4 wins of winning the World Series, to have never tasted that in an awfully long time for most of these generations of Cubs fans that are out there. They got into the big dance, the big show. They're down to the final 2. That means something. And they'll be back. This is a good
really?
team.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was that simple.
They'll be back.
Okay.
Put it like this.
Didn't they say that no 3? Hadn't they said that before? I'm sorry.
This is different, though, because you see what this team is made, the makeup. You see how young they are. They're poised. This feels like the start of something. This doesn't feel like another one of those cold chapters in Cubs history where they're going to walk away with some awful memory. I think even if they lost this series, the Cubs fans would leave this feeling good about themselves because they overcame the biggest hurdle, and that is getting here. When you haven't been in a long time, Mike, all right? With all the pressure of this season, all the games they won, to not have even gotten to the World Series would have been a huge blow. They got here. They're exonerated.
With all due respect, you said a lot of ridiculous things on this show. That's number one.
No.
This is almost
way
as ridiculous.
More ridiculous.
You're right about that. You're right about that. What am I saying? All right, you try to break it down emotionally. Let's go physics, okay? Which wasn't my specialty, but I think this applies. If I were to stand on this table and fall on my face, not only would you be abused,
laugh.
Right, it would sting a little bit. Mm-hmm. But if I got on this building and I fell to the floor, I ain't getting up. Physics. The higher you are, the more the fall hurts. You gonna tell me
science?
Because science. You gonna tell me that Cubs fans getting this close with this team they're gonna be okay because they got there. Basically, you vouching for participation trophies.
No.
I know they got the NL pennant, but you're saying just getting there is good enough. You know what that sounds like? You know what that sounds like from you and Wilbon? That's people, because my dad raised me with that pessimistic approach to life. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. That sounds like somebody who's accustomed to making peace with pain. He's accustomed to coming to rationalizing shortcomings and saying, well, you know what? I'm prepared to be disappointed again. So in advance of this possibility of being disappointed, let me go ahead and say it's just fun that we're here. As if we're playing with house money.
It's about understanding that it is a process, Mike, that this is a step.
You more than anybody, Jamel, talks about the randomness of the baseball postseason and how the team with the best record isn't guaranteed anything. Now you're sitting up here saying they're going to be back? It's that simple?
I mean, why? Look at the team. Why wouldn't they be? Look, I realize nothing is guaranteed. I can't guarantee it, but that's why
the Braves are supposed to go every year. They got like one championship out of that pitching staff.
But here's the thing, though. They kept going, all right? And in hindsight, we look back at what the Bills did, and we realize there are certain accomplishments in going. And to go like the Bills did 4 straight times, they were considered losers because they kept losing.
Not to me. That was an amazing accomplishment. Exactly. But as Bills fans, how that feel? They go back and say, yeah, but at least we got there 4 times.
Well, they would say that now because they've been 4 times. So that's why I said this is a step, all right? Now, next year, if the Cubs got to this position, no, I wouldn't say this. But for now, given what their history was in terms of not
I'm not
getting
saying you
this
can't
drought,
enjoy it.
How could you not feel like this was a huge accomplishment?
Enjoy it, but if they lose, you're not going to sit up here and say, well, they got there, and that's good enough. That's it. You know what that is? A loser's mentality.
That is not a loser's
mentality. It's not
mentality.
good enough.
That's called understanding and appreciating the moment.
No, that's called being thirsty. That's called being desperate. I got you. You're coming from the perspective of, hey, you know what? I've been lonely my whole life. I finally found somebody. I'm just going to take it. I'm not saying reality, you. I'm just saying that's the Cubs fans from a relationship analogous standpoint.
Of relationships.
By the way, you rooting for the Cubs, take it?
I am rooting for the Cubs because I want to see this come to fruition.
I'm rooting for Cleveland because the Cubs, first of all, they have Chicago. They've had the Bears, they've had the Bulls, the Blackhawks, and yes, the White Sox.
Yes.
They've had all that going for them. Cleveland, just because they got the Cavs, they could afford to get more.
They still got the Browns, though. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. More reason for the Indians and the underdogs, too.
Okay.
I'm pulling for you, Cleveland. Cleveland, this one's for you.
Let's move on to another interesting Cubs story. So Indians second baseman Jason Kipnis, a Chicago native who grew up a Cubs fan, proposed an interesting idea. He believes the Cubs should have infamous Cubs fan Steve Bartman throw out the first pitch for Game 3 of the World Series in Chicago. Now, chew on that for a second. Realize Kipnis went to the same Catholic school as the infamous Steve Bartman. Oh. He also went on to say that Bartman, who has been in hiding for 13 years, was never at fault and didn't deserve such intense backlash. I agree. Is this a cool idea? I happen to think it is. What say you?
It's a ridiculous idea. I don't even know who you are anymore.
What?
I don't even know who you are anymore.
What do you mean?
You're the pettiest person I know. I can't believe. So you're Steve Bartman. Mm-hmm. And after 13 years of being in forced isolation, you're telling me that throwing out the first pitch, you would accept this? No, I'd take that baseball and I'd hum it at Jason Kipnis or anybody else's head.
Jason Kipnis is trying to
this is ridiculous. Okay, first of all right. See, you know what I'm not a fan of? Convenient forgiveness. So you forgive me now because your team handled business.
Nothing that he should feel sorry for. It's just a matter. This is what I say about forgiveness. And Mike, I think you've heard me say this many, many times. When you decide to forgive, it is not for the other person. It is for you.
So why you didn't do it in 2003? Oh, why you didn't do it the next year?
No, they should have
Why you didn't do it in 2013?
Mike,
why you didn't do it in 2008?
They should have done it before now. But here's the thing. This is a grand moment in Cubs history. He's been a lifelong Cubs fan. You can't tell me wherever he is.
The dude is a verb, Jamel. Bartman is a verb. You got everybody knew what this guy was doing.
You know what? They've been hollering about this Billy Goat for centuries or whatever.
Then all right, have a goat throw out the first pitch then.
They need to bring Steve Bartman in for Game 3. And Steve Bartman, if you are listening, because I know you're probably a His and Hers fan, you need to accept.
Don't do it.
Throw out
Please
the first
don't do
pitch.
It.
And let this be. Can you
don't give them. This will be so you're gonna trot me out there. You're gonna trot me out there for your amusement, and so you can feel better and your PR and you need to do interviews.
He deserves.
Where were you when I needed you last winter? Where were you before? When I was in isolation.
The right to have.
He deserved to be forgiven far sooner than 2016. Jamal.
Look, I've talked to some Cubs fans, and they've said that some of this
reporting.
I know, right? This ought to just lay it down.
Right.
And they've said before that the national narrative has been far more unrelenting than how things actually feel in Chicago.
Is that about Bartman?
About Bartman. I'm not trying to say that they never threatened him. They didn't try to hunt him down and all that didn't happen in the immediate aftermath. Of course it did. But as time went on, they forgiven him and I put that in quotes because, again, he had nothing to feel sorry for. They have forgiven him a long time ago. More so, we held on to the narrative. That's what they claim more so.
So this is just a complete closure.
To me, this is closure, full circle. And guess what? Steve Bartman deserves this. He deserves.
I'm not saying he don't deserve it. I'm saying y'all don't deserve Steve Bartman at this point to be able to trot him out there and make a show of him after him and his headphones and his glasses been in isolation for all these years. And what y'all done to him? No, what couldn't be me? Nah, I'm gonna hold a grudge.
Hey, college football fans, I'm Ivan Maisel. On the latest Championship Drive podcast, Penn State upsets Ohio State, and it's the year of the bounce back. To listen to us or subscribe to us, go to the Listen tab of your ESPN app.
NBA season tipping off tonight, so naturally, we got to go hard in the paint, right?
What you got for MVP?
Just like that. Just out the gate. Just that no warm up.
Yeah, we got.
Who do I have for MVP?
Any day now, Slick. It's called rapid fire.
I got Russell Westbrook.
Okay.
That's who I have.
All right.
All right, because look, we know the Warriors. They're gonna cancel themselves out, right?
Yeah.
I think LeBron. He's always in the conversation, always in the mix, best player. Reducing minutes, and even though, as he pointed out, Steph, it was a whole lot of fourth quarter Steph didn't see, and he still was able to win MVP. Granted, he had a record-setting number of threes, but all that being said, I think Russ, man, I think he's on a mission, as he always is, but even more so, he getting all the shots.
That was a very Russell Westbrook-like performance. I got 2 seconds to say Kawhi Leonard, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, leading scorer is his team. Kawhi Leonard. Wow, Jamel.
See, you can be brief. I was just trying to pick.
This your squad. This your squad. Go ahead.
Oh, this is my squad?
Yeah.
All right. So Derrick Rose and his super team.
Yeah.
Knicks.
I like them.
You like them?
I like them this year.
Okay.
Look, the East has got some quality teams. So when everybody was hollering championship in the offseason, I was like, yo, make the playoffs. And that wasn't a slight against who the Knicks got together. It was like the Pacers have gotten better. Like the Hornets are still there. Dwight seems motivated in Atlanta. Go on and on and on. But this team, if nothing else, is going to be interesting. They're going to be interesting. Not just because of the Porzingis.
They're beyond interesting.
I'm using that league pass to watch them.
They are a playoff team.
Right. You're not going to be able to get as many jokes off about them this year.
Oh, please. It'll always be jokes.
Knicks tape. Shout out to Joe Budden. Brother His and Hers shout out.
Look at you.
Look at that. Work that in there.
All right. Now
get your boy. Preseason. Still taekwondo, kicking people where the sun don't shine.
But you know what that only proves? What I tried to tell you before about
that he out of control?
No, that it was unintentional. That it's a habit. Is it a habit he needs to break? Absolutely.
My man is okay. Watch it again. Run it again. Hold on. Wait for it. Okay, watch this.
Okay.
Watch this. He didn't already landed. He already landed and his leg went up.
He was trying to draw a foul, trying to create some contact. It's not intentional.
All right. Man, if you went to Michigan, if he went to Michigan, you'd have called for his suspension. You would have called for his suspension for life if he went to Michigan.
Get off Draymond.
No, get off of people's junk. Like justice for Jules. Where's the justice? Stop doing this.
Draymond will be under control.
Over under 5 times did he kick somebody in the groin?
5? No. I'll give him 1 at most. So.
Yeah, no. I got this. So, who wasn't on this show saying that John Elway's completely mishandling the quarterback situation? He didn't give Brock Osweiler enough money. He didn't give Colin Kaepernick enough money. Wanted him to take a pay cut. Ooh.
Well, who was it on this show that last week wanted to talk about Brock Osweiler maybe turning the corner?
Did he not drive him down the field?
I'm sorry.
I was trying to look out for Houston fans. But that, don't redirect this.
No, don't you redirect this. Just riddle me this. How does one throw 41 passes and only get 131 passing yards? And he looked terrible. He out there throwing passes backwards, basically.
Akeem Talib was like, he cheaper and better, talking about Trevor Siemian. I'm just saying, apologize to Mellow 5 and John Elway.
And you apologize for almost making me put him in the show last week.
He did drive him down the field.
But he didn't turn the corner. If he did, he ran right into something again.
All right. See, this is how we argue. This is a continuation from yesterday. I'm still mad at you. You still on one. I don't care if he threw 6 picks last week.
Mike.
Talk your stuff.
No, talk nothing. That's one of the most selfish post-game press conferences I've ever seen from somebody. So let me get this straight. It takes you being ticked off, throwing those picks, being benched, somebody getting hurt for you to come in there and play like you give a damn. You better sit all the way down.
Nobody said he ain't
have
never
all
cared.
the seats in MetLife.
So
really?
He getting the ball thrown over his head?
So the 6
he getting the ball thrown over his head? How your boy Revis been playing this year?
So the 6 interceptions helped.
No, it ain't help.
Okay, so him leading the NFL in interceptions, that helped the Jets.
Why you yelling at me? Why you so loud? We don't yell on this show. Why you yelling at me?
I wasn't yelling at you. You yelled at me.
I didn't yell.
Yes, you did.
Why you got to take the volume up?
Because you sit up here caping for this fool. No, you lock it up.
Geno Smith is getting a second opinion today. But he's expected to require season-ending surgery on a torn ACL. That means that Geno has probably played his last game with the Jets. Ryan Fitzpatrick is back as a starter after calling out the team for not believing in him. Jets coach Todd Bowles clapped back yesterday. Inside voice.
If pissed off is going to stop the turnovers, then I'm happy. I'm more than happy to have him pissed off the whole time. But, you know, this is a show-me game. There's nothing about belief or non-belief. And people get assigned to do jobs and they do them. And if if I don't do my job, or the GM doesn't do his job, and the quarterback doesn't do his job, and the team doesn't do their job, eventually they'll replace us all. It's a show-me game.
Thank you, Todd Bowles. Thank you for saying that. That's all I was trying to tell you yesterday.
I heard you.
That would be like, let me try to use my indoor voice before I start yelling at you again.
Go ahead. I like that because people that think I'm the one that does the yelling don't watch you enough. So
so you have to point out the fact that I was yelling.
Go ahead.
All I was saying is that wasn't the time or the place for Ryan Fitzpatrick to make it all about him. You were not helping the Jets. You were hurting them. So for you to try to pop your collar after you have a victory, okay, and say they didn't believe in me, I wouldn't believe in you either, okay? And as Todd Bowles perfectly said, this is not about belief. This is about results. And, homie, you weren't giving us any.
So when they benched him, implicit in that decision was, we don't believe in your ability to turn it around, to give us the best chance to win.
What they said was, stop hurting us.
I'm not saying he didn't deserve the benching. See, here's why you went crazy on me yesterday, because you think I'm crazy. And the reason you don't think I'm crazy, the reason you think I'm crazy is you don't think like me. See, you and y'all.
And I'm supposed to feel bad about that?
Y'all don't understand the mentality of a quarterback. See, I do. Did you play? Did you play the game? I always want to do that, by the way. I always want to do that. You know how players are the trump card? They'll come at us. They'll be like, did you play? Be like, no.
Okay.
You don't. Let me tell you something.
Tell us, second stringer.
Let me go Al Bundy for a second. Let me tell you something.
Oh, poke eye. Here we go.
You don't beat Eli Manning on the road in the rain without having the kind of mentality where you could throw picks and forget about it. You don't. The only profession that Harvard is a bad thing is professional football. And you don't survive for 12 years with 6 organizations as a 7th-round pick out of Harvard if you don't have an overinflated opinion of your own ability, which is greater than the people around you. Look, do we have the quote? Because maybe listening to him on the podium was a problem. He said the biggest thing in this game to last is to have belief in yourself.
And he could have ended it right there.
Because when the owner, when everybody, the owner, GM, coaches stop believing in you, sometimes all you have in yourself. What he's basically saying, and what endeared him to that huddle, is a quarterback's ability to put behind him those 11 picks and believe that the next pass is going to be a touchdown. See, Jamel, hold on. Let me say something. Here's the other thing. See, the problem, too, is I relate to him on another level. Because I've been doubted. I've been counted out. I've been overlooked. I've been underappreciated and underrated and frankly underpaid, by the way, okay? You don't have those problems. See, I didn't have the chances that you had, Miss Hawkins. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, Miss Hawkins. Some of us had to work for this, okay? So I understand Ryan Fitzpatrick's mentality.
But
that's all I'm getting
between you and Ryan Fitzpatrick is you were a whole lot better at your job than he was at his.
Well, that's not saying much. That goes for most people.
Okay, and this is the other thing. Now I get it. Now I get why you identify with him beyond just the whole quarterback thing. You rode the bench, right?
Huh?
You rode the bench.
I always put air quotes around play.
All right, okay. That's why. See, I started the entire time in high school. So
at quarterback?
No.
Did you start at quarterback?
I started, though.
Did you start at quarterback?
So I don't know about that.
You want to take the?
I don't know about having
You want to compare being a shortstop to quarterback?
You know what time it is. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 DTMs, and we start off with how it went down at the poker table.
Play for the win, right? You doing the same? 90K is 90K, right? That's the main event for the next 9 years.
You're a bully, it's rude, it's mean.
It's called speech play.
It's not about, it's not called speech play. It's called being a bad person. You should really check yourself.
Information.
Check your privilege.
You want to gamble? Okay, I'm all in. Let's go.
Come on, baby. Let's go. Whatever happens, he's cooler.
And the king's about? Ping.
Show me 3.
Come on!
Now,
check your privilege.
That's the person that deserves to talk their ish, not Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's how you shut him down.
So that was awesome, even though I don't even know what happened. I don't play poker. More reason why we got to do this World Series of Spades thing. We got to do this World Series because we'll be saying way worse than check your privilege.
Oh my God, it would be bleeps abound.
It'd be violent. Like we need to do this. That was awesome.
Speaking of violence, Mike Zimmer staged a bizarre stuffed animal massacre to send his team a message about complacency heading into Sunday's matchup against the Eagles.
And then they got massacred?
Based on the outcome of the game, it doesn't look like his team got the memo.
Why they had to do that to the stuffed animals, man? Were you a big stuffed animal person growing up?
here and there.
Yeah.
Here
Yeah,
and
like
there.
a bed full of teddy bears and whatnot.
This is a violent DTM because this Alabama Reverend sent Alabama beat writer Michael Casagrande a threatening email for suggesting the matchup between LSU might be close. The Reverend says somebody needs to beat your bleep with a baseball bat for being very, very stupid.
College football is a religion down there. It is a religion.
Right?
You know the funniest thing with trolls in general, but it's a Twitter troll, because every now and then if somebody says the right thing, I'll be like, who is this person? And then you go to their Twitter page and their avatar. It's a lot of time an egg avatar or a dog avatar. You look at the bio and it shows like a birth. So like I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Like God first. I'm like, wait a minute.
It reminds me of my mother cussing folks out, talking about some, ooh, Jesus, watch my tongue. Like, huh? And UConn head coach Kevin Ollie, he gave an interview at the American Athletic Conference Media Day. Check out the scotch tape on his mic. That's just too hood.
We got a name for that.
I know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Don't say
I won't.
All right.
I won't. But you know what we call it. You know what we call it.
I know what we call it.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I do. You had an oven situation that was kind of like that, right?
A what?
An oven. Remember you talking about?
You talking about that stove? Oh, yes, that poverty mentality, man. For the longest time, talking about living below your means, I had a stove where one burner worked, and I wasn't replacing it. I just force a habit.
All right.
New England Revolution striker, he received a yellow card for twerking after scoring a goal. Must be nice.
Is that a twerk or a doo-doo brow?
So you can actually, right. Yeah. Well, the people that write the script say twerking because they don't know no better. Probably doo-doo Brown, like
Okay.
as Antonio Brown well knows.
Right.
Must be nice. So in football, you can celebrate in football.
Mm-hmm.
Not football, but football. You can celebrate.
Yeah, so at least we see, I guess it's not just the NFL. It's cracking down on this doo-doo brown / twerking epidemic.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the worst case of like just throwing something together that I've done. I had the milk crate. You know, that was the nightstand.
TV stand?
No,
Yeah.
it was a nightstand for
In
a
college,
while.
yeah.
In college,
Yeah.
like, right? And I
Yeah.
had the milk crate that was the bookcase, right? Also in college.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I had the taped up phone, a whole bunch
Or the TV with the pliers on it, or the faucet with the pliers.
Oh my
Another one.
gosh.
Absolutely.
Album covers.
It's one of the biggest rivalry games in college football.
Jump ball picked off.
The Florida Gators and Georgia Bulldogs in Jacksonville.
10-5, touchdown Georgia.
Coverage begins Saturday at 2:30 Eastern.